What's up, my Canadian cousins? How are you guys? It's been since July, I think, since I last posted a video. Two major reasons for that is I changed jobs, which was kind of a big to-do. I've got a professional career, so transitioning from one place to another was interesting and challenging. All good. Set against the backdrop of my completely mourning and lamenting and being depressed about what has gone on in my country, what my country is doing, and the helplessness that so many of us feel to do anything about it. I can't stress enough how devastated I am to lose your democracy right in front of your eyes, to see you slip into the most vile kind of hateful authoritarianism that our government has slipped into is just really, words can't express it. You know me, having studied history my whole life and having a keen understanding of it, it makes it even more frustrating when people don't see historical parallels. I don't think I've ever said before what I do for a living. I think it hinted around it, but I just don't care that much anymore. I have other things to possibly be fearful of. So I'm a lawyer, so understanding the Constitution and civics and government and what our founding fathers had envisioned for our democracy, for our republic, it's just devastating. It really is. And I've kind of felt sort of lonely in it, in the sense that MAGAs are in charge of Congress, and they're completely ceding power to the executive, which the founders never envisioned happening because they thought that people act in their self-interest and the three branches of government would guard their power, act as checks and balances against each other. But it's not working that way. And it's absolutely mind-boggling and crazy to think we're in the place that we're in. And it feels lonely because, I've been staying off social media more now than I have in a long time. When you even see people posting from other countries, they sometimes lump us all in like we're some monolithic society and that we all are MAGAs, that, Americans did this and many of us did. I'm not going to say that that's not true, but many of us didn't. Many of us don't want this. Many of us are sick over it, and many of us are in the fight for our country. So, with the second No Kings rally that came, nationwide rally that came up yesterday, I saw a TikTok video from a Canadian TikTok personality. His name is Tod Mffin, I think it's called. Well, anyway, Todd from Vancouver Island, BC. And he's very great. I mean, he's posts a lot of videos that, are about Canadian pride and about all the good things that Canada has to offer in contrast to what the United States has become, and particularly the elbows up movement and resisting buying anything from the United States, the boycotts, the Canada First, etc. So he posted this video, and I enjoyed it. He talked about Canadians who are going to be also participating in the No Kings rally. I went to the rally yesterday. There were 8 places on Long Island where I live, Long Island, New York. Very well attended. Thousands of people at every location on Long Island. Hundreds of thousands of people in New York City. Over 7 million Americans throughout the country. People showed up in solidarity all over the place, in Montreal and Toronto and many places across Canada. And for the first time, I don't feel lonely. I feel like there are people who understand throughout the world that there are people like us here in the United States that need your support, that need community, that understand they're people of good conscience with good values here, that care about those things. And being with thousands of people like that yesterday made me feel better. I feel good. I felt good. I feel good for the first time in a long time. Do I think that these protests in and of themselves are going to move the needle? No, but I think they're important. And if you look historically about what protests have accomplished, they ended the Vietnam War. They do a lot. So are they the be-all and end-all? No, but they're a start, and we have to continue to do it. So without further ado, I'm going to take a look at Todd's video here, and And then I'll share some clips with you of the protest I was at yesterday, which, by the way, I found a number of people wearing some pro-Canada gear. All right, my friends, without further ado, let's take a look.
Americans are marching for No King's Day tomorrow. We Canadians have matching protests of our own to support our neighbors, but it is a little bit awkward because we do have a king. He's our head of state. His name is Charles. You may have seen him on our money, or depending on how fast the Bank of Canada updates things, maybe you haven't. To be honest, we rather like him because he's quiet and stays out of our business. He lives across the ocean, doesn't tweet at 3 a.m, doesn't tell us to inject bleach, doesn't call journalists enemies of the people. In fact, our king doesn't do anything. He's like the wallpaper of our democracy. Decorative, familiar, but if he just disappeared one day, we'd all just go, huh. I shouldn't say he literally does nothing.
I mean, obviously, we understand that the constitutional monarchy as it exists today in the Commonwealth is not the type of king we're talking about. We're talking about a despot, an absolute monarch. And so, that's cute. I mean, I don't think we fully understand, or, at least I do, and people who I associate with fully understand what is meant. And he understands too. He's being playful.
He plants trees. He occasionally mumbles something awkward about architecture. He's more a mascot here than anything else. Nice guy, as far as I can tell, but we barely notice him. We make our laws here, in the House of Commons, in Ottawa, in Canada. The king doesn't make our laws. He can't veto bills that our elected representatives vote in, something we have never really understood about the American system. He technically has to give royal assent before it becomes a law, but that's a rubber stamp. The Governor General, which is the King's representative, could withhold that assent, but by convention that doesn't happen, not in modern Canadian history anyway. He, through the Governor General, can prorogue Parliament, which stops it in its tracks, but that's only happened at the request of the sitting government. The ruling monarchs never refused that request, even when a lot of us wish that they had. Frankly, the reason we keep him around is because we Canadians rather like our ceremony. We like fancy hats, shiny medals, and old ladies who can curtsy without toppling over. The monarchy is basically our version of lawn bowling. It's old, it's slow, no one's quite sure why it's still happening, but it gives the neighbors something to talk about. And listen, all jokes aside.
Wait, before he gets to that, he mentioned he doesn't understand how a president can veto legislation, and he can, but then it can go back to the House and Senate for a vote to override. Just saying.
Americans worry they've elected a king, and I get it. A dictator, for sure. But to some of us here in Canada, it looks a bit different. Americans didn't overthrow their monarchy. They monetized it. They built billionaires who bought the public square and are now selling it back to them in pieces. The history books might need a correction. America didn't abolish kings. It privatized them. Luckily, American history is written by those same hands that push back, so keep marching, keep shouting. You've still got friends across the border who believe in you and in what's right, and we will be here, keeping the lights on, hoping you find your way home.
Yeah, I hope we can find our way home too. I really do. Oh my God, more than you can possibly imagine. We didn't overthrow a king to put billionaires in place. That happened gradually over time. But it is true. I mean, we are essentially an oligarchy at this point to a large extent. Because that's what Trump is all about. It's all about monetizing power for himself and his cronies in that class of American that is, in the billionaire class. So he's not wrong. It's not like the revolution was about overthrowing monarchy to put that in place. That was never what the founding fathers wanted. And if you look at what George Washington did to establish the precedents of keeping the executive's power in check, he didn't want to be called a king. He didn't want to be called Your Majesty or Your Excellence or anything like that. Something that was at the time considered very mild president, like the president of your book club. And he voluntarily left after 2 terms, establishing that habit, which was broken by FDR, Franklin Roosevelt, during Depression and World War II under extreme circumstances, but we ended up codifying it with the constitutional amendment. And you can be damn sure that if Trump stays healthy, he's not healthy. Dementia Don is not healthy. But if he stays healthy enough, they are going to look for a way to unconstitutionally get him another term. And they're going to use the fact that he didn't serve the 2 terms consecutively as some kind of argument, which would be total and utter nonsense. But anyway, my friends, I do appreciate what Todd said there very much, and I do appreciate the support. And I think it's fair for him to say it while holding a mirror up in front of our faces. But, don't think that this is a surprise to me or to the people who were out, millions of people who were out protesting yesterday. It's certainly not. All right, my friends, it's so good to see you again. And, this made me, like I said, the going to the protest yesterday, and watching the support of Canadians and people around the world in protests yesterday made me feel somewhat better and made me motivated to get back in front of you guys and have a chat. All right, my friends, so I hope to continue, and I hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye.
Yes, I'll come back to you. Then I'll ask, what have we done under the sun? To be free, be away, big breath that you can't fake once you've begun.
Usually, he has meetings with